For the sixth straight year, Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens did not make the Hall of Fame. The vote totals were announced yesterday, with Clemens getting 57% and Bonds getting 56%. They both increased slightly from last year, but are still well short of the 75% needed. We're joined by Rob Parker. Welcome, Rob.
What's happening?
Good morning.
Look,
Great
hi.
to be here. Thank you.
Rob, you're a Hall of Fame voter.
Yes.
So what's your stance on the stars from the steroid era getting into the Hall?
First, I'll say this. I'm still optimistic that they're going to make it. A lot of people are saying because the numbers didn't go up a lot.
Not much.
But they didn't go down.
Right.
Remember, Joe Morgan wrote that letter trying to get people to push back on it. He didn't mention Clemens and Bonds, but that's what that letter was all about.
Correct.
So their numbers didn't go down. They increased slightly. I believe before their 10 years are up, they will get there, that writers will understand you can't tell baseball's story without those two guys. I'm talking about Clemens and Bonds.
Yeah.
Okay, on my ballot, I have voted for guys. I voted for Sheffield and Sosa, Clemens, Bonds. They were on my list.
The dark-skinned Sosa or the light-skinned Sosa?
The dark-skinned one. That's the one who was hitting all the home runs, not the one that I see now. But the other part is the steroid thing. I get it. People are bothered by it, but we already have guys who were linked to steroids in the Hall of Fame, right? Bagwell got in.
Yeah.
Piazza's in. Pudge Rodriguez got in. He was in the Canseco book. He was in Texas with all those guys who they talked about. Canseco said that he used to inject Pudge. And somehow, some way, Pudge got in, and people just kind of looked the other way.
As crazy as Canseco gets, you can't discredit.
No.
Like he's always been right.
Yes.
He's been right. That book was right. It wasn't like crazy. So all I'm saying is those guys somehow have gotten in, and yet they're still holding out two of the greatest players who ever played. Here's my big rub and my biggest argument. If it can't be, it's either everybody's in or nobody's in. And what I mean is, if you look at that era, you're not asking the Yankees to turn back their championships during that era.
Correct.
You're not asking the Red Sox to give back their championships. You haven't given refunds to all the fans who went to the games and saying, no, this doesn't work. Barry Bonds, when you look in the record book, is the all-time home run king.
Yeah.
So the numbers all count, right?
Right.
And then here's your kicker. Joe Torre, Tony La Russa had players who, if you're saying help benefit and help them win, why are they in the Hall of Fame? Tony La Russa got in, Joe Torre got in. So you can't just pick a handful of guys and say, we're going to pile on you and you're going to be the brunt of it when everybody else was involved. The whole game was involved. It's just an era. You talk about it was a steroid era, what went on, who got busted, but you cannot deny, and you said this before, Skip, Barry Bonds is the greatest player I ever saw play. I don't know how anybody ever could watch baseball and not think that that guy was a great player, even before the alleged steroid use.
For me, I agree. They should not be banned because it's too difficult to assume who was and who wasn't on during that era, Skip. And we get it. Baseball numbers are the most sacred numbers of any sports. They're more sacred than football. They're more sacred than basketball. They're the most sacred of all the numbers, and they hate the fact that they think Bonds tainted those numbers. But so let's just go to 2000 because they believe that's when Barry Bonds started. Barry Bonds' first 14 years and you tell me if he's a Hall of Fame just with these numbers. He batted .288. He had 445 home runs. He had .559 slugging percentage. 460 stolen bases, 3 MVPs, and 8 Golden Gloves.
Stop.
1,300 RBI. So, Skip, if he plays another down, if he plays hits another ball, is that Hall of Fame?
That's all before he got big.
That's all of that, Skip. If you look
He's a Hall of Famer. He just is.
Because up until that point, there was universal. It's Ken Griffey Jr. and Barry Bonds.
Absolutely.
And if you look at their numbers, Griffey had like 55 more home runs, but everything else is a wash except the stolen bases. Roger Clemens. And if you look at him in Boston, where he won 3 Cy Youngs.
And an MVP.
You can stop right there.
Only 4 guys had as many Cy Youngs at that point. Now, I get it. You know, he goes and everybody says, well, he's losing his fastball. He goes to Toronto and wins 2 more Cy Youngs. He goes to the Yankees and win 1. He goes to the Astros and win 1. But Skip.
And he met Brian McNamee in
Yes,
Toronto.
but the numbers suggest
I get it.
what happened but before that. Because if you look at, let's take track and field. They didn't take Justin Gatlin's medal. He's been busted several times. If you don't test positive, this is what I don't get it. It's just, I know what it is. They don't like Barry.
But the only thing I'll say about this, and I'm going to take up for the baseball writers, when you get the MVP, it's not your peers, it's the writers who vote for the MVP. Barry Bonds was not a nice guy to the writers.
He was not.
Okay? Skip, you know
there.
you were around him. But he got 7 MVPs voted by the writers because they couldn't deny his talent.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
So hold on, Skip. You couldn't deny his talent then.
No, I know.
When you said he was on steroids, so you gave him the MVP, but you won't put him in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
It doesn't make sense.
So, just for the record, once upon a time, I'm in the San Francisco clubhouse, and Barry clearly had not liked something I wrote, and so he came up behind me, put his vice grip, this is when he was big, Barry, put his vice grip on my arm and squeezed as hard as he could, and I looked him right in the eye, and it lasted 30 seconds that seemed like about 3 minutes, and he walked away. He did not like me, and I love him as a player. So that was being totally objective. I don't know any writer who liked Barry Bonds because he just declared war on the writer.
He just didn't deal
and yet,
with him.
when he felt like it, when he was in a great mood, he could be as an expansive and compelling and entertaining an interview as there was in sports, but he usually didn't feel like it. So I was there when he was big. Let's just do when he was big. I covered the whole, down the stretch, the whole August, September, into October with Barry Bonds. He was seeing 2 pitches a game. Seriously, 2 pitches a game. I didn't know why they didn't walk him every time. They should have just walked him all 4 or 5
Buck Showalter once walked in with the bases loaded.
He did. But he would, whatever he saw, he would hit hard. And it would either hit the wall or it would clear the wall, but he would blast it. He had the greatest eye for the plate, for plate discipline I ever saw. And yet, to your point, even before he got big, he's a Hall of Famer, and even before Roger had to resort. See, both of them resorted to keeping up with the Joneses. They came late to the steroid party because they're looking around like, and again, I'm not trying to absolve them, but I think both of them said, what's going on? I got to compete.
Barry saw how they loved Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa in '98.
I covered that.
He said Sammy Sosa was a bum.
Yeah.
And then now he get all this love and adulation. The guy hitting 20 home runs, and all of a sudden he got like 5 seasons of 60.
Okay, now to my point and anti your other point, there's no way for me that Sammy Sosa is a Hall of Famer. There's no way for me Mark McGwire is a Hall of Famer because pre-big, pre-big, Mark McGwire made one. He never was top 3 in MVP, and he led the league 1 time in home runs back in 1987. I just didn't think he was good enough.
But the rookie year he had 49. My only support of Mark McGwire, and I voted for him, is that he was a college home run hitter. Big time in college. So it didn't come late to the party where he started using steroids and then became a home run hitter.
Although he was in that steroid nest, he was with Canseco his rookie year, so I don't know what was going on already.
But if you go look at the videotape, go look at YouTube, he was skinny. He really was. He wasn't there yet.
I covered Sammy Sosa in Chicago. And if you look hard at what he was before he got real big, real fast, he made 1 All-Star team and won 1 Silver Slugger before '98. And when '98 came, he was sensational. I give you that. I was there. It was spellbinding to watch him. Yeah. He was crushing balls like not just over the street. He was crushing them into the neighborhood.
For like 5 to 6 years, Skip, he was what Wilt Chamberlain was in the NBA. Because he had more 60 home run season than everybody else combined.
I got it. But he just wasn't a good enough baseball player to me. He wasn't a Gold Glover.
For me, I have a magic number. If you get 500 home runs, I vote for you. Sheffield, that's why Sheffield makes the list for me.
But that was the cutoff, Skip. If you hit 500 home runs, you were in. You had 3,000 strikeouts, you were in. You had 3,000 RBIs, you were in.
There was
certain numbers, like Crime Dog, Fred McGriff.
Yeah.
Doesn't have enough. Yeah. But Shannon, you're in the Hall of Fame. How many other football players were on steroids or in the Hall of Fame?
Why you laughing, Skip? What you trying to say, Skip?
Well, I know one.
What?
Just one.
You got an exclusive?
Who? Who is it?
It's some Some cowboy.
Is that right? But that's my point. I don't know. Football players get suspended. They win awards. Nobody even blinks.
Yeah, but
the
the steroid thing, it's a story in baseball. It was an era in baseball. What's disappointing as a fan is that it always becomes about the writers. No offense, Rob.
I'm sorry.
Every year.
But how you voting for the guy? That's what I'm saying about T.O. You vote for him to be all pro. But when it comes time for you to vote for him to go to the Hall of Fame, you're like, nah, he was a bad guy.
No. Rob, thanks for joining us. Do the Patriots need Gronk to win the Super Bowl?
No Gronk.
There we go.
No hardware.
Greg Jennings next.